call the meeting to order. We're going to put it down at 5:53. Let's go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're going to go ahead and do roll call now.
Yes. Dr. Martha Villarreal?
Here.
Dr. Colin Campbell? Absent. Julio Mendez?
Here.
Carlos Abraham Flores?
Here.
Armando Lopez? Absent. Gail Akers Rodriguez?
Here.
Robert M. Lopez? Absent. Rosie Santos?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We don't have any citizen comments today, right?
No, that's
So then, we'll go ahead and go with the minutes. I don't know if you all had a chance to review your minutes, or if you want to take a minute or two to review the minutes. Did everybody already get a chance to review them? Do you all want to go ahead and approve the minutes?
I move that we approve the
I second
minutes.
it.
Okay.
I have a minute here. Was it supposed to pass?
No, zero.
We all have, okay. Duplicated.
Oh, you got 2 copies?
I got 3 copies of it.
Oh! We want to make sure you're ready.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, moving on, do we have any communications or announcements?
Just to let you all know that City Council voted on a new mural, and that is being funded by Councilmember Vidal Rodriguez, District 2, and it's supposed to go up at the Carlos, Rene, and Raquel Ramirez Wig Clinic and Hope Center. I tried to get more information on that, but it is supposed to be a depiction of the journey of life, where it starts from, I guess, conception to death.
What is it?
It's a new mural that's being funded with ARC funds by Councilman Vidal Rodriguez.
Okay, where's it gonna be?
It's going to be in District 2, which is in South Laredo, and it's going to be at the Carlos, Rene, and Raquel Ramirez Wig Clinic.
And who's the artist?
That I couldn't
Oh, you
get.
didn't know.
Yes, I tried to get more information, also the amount that was being sent, but I did not receive that back. I'm gonna ask for it.
Is it an outdoor mural?
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Do you know any more about it?
I just know that it's gonna be,
Oh, yeah,
outdoors.
outside
and
of the
it's-
building.
Yeah. And the idea is because it's on the wig clinic that it has to do with the journey of
That was
life.
done.
Kind of on the same subject of the clinic.
Would that be part of that budget that we were going to?
The last one, yes,
Oh.
the one from 2019.
Oh, okay.
There were some council members that had not used their funds yet.
Well, then I think we're good, right? We can move on to staff reports.
Mhm.
So,
Yes. The next item is an update on the Public Arts Master Plan, and we have Elia Giles with us.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. Well, just a quick update to let you all know that we have have started to work on the actual master plan now. We spent a lot of the last couple of months on going through the ordinance and trying to, still working on the program administration piece of it. But we didn't want to get held up by that, so we started working on some of the other pieces now. And I'm going to be sending to Maria and Irene pretty soon a database of the inventory, of the public art inventory, that they will be able to then continue. I put in all of the information that we've been given so far to get started. And we also have been working on the community engagement online survey that we're going to, that we also want to get out probably the next week or so. We still need to go through it internally with Maria and Eileen, but we're close, I think, to being done with that one and getting it out to the public. First and foremost, to the cultural arts organizations and cultural arts stakeholders, artists. We would like to work with the city for them to help get it out. Also, we'll come back to you all next month as well, probably asking you to share with your networks as well, so that we can get a broad, broad feedback from the community at large. We are planning to do some in-person community engagement as well, and that is most likely going to happen in August. We're still working out the details of that. And let's see. So other than that, we're just working on some of the policies that were part of the scope of the plan, the scope from the contract, and that is looking at things like maintenance and gifts and donations and all of those things. And today we have for discussion and possible action. We hope that you will be able to pass the public art annual report for 2020 and the public art plan for 2022, so that we can then give that to city council, and then hopefully it's on record then, and then the plan is set for the next year, and that way you don't have those funds being used randomly, and it can be more planned. And that's all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions you all have.
We were supplied that package.
Yes.
That we were supposed to have read for today, which I did.
You did read?
Yes, absolutely.
And when we get to that, we'll see if you had any comments on it,
Okay.
because that's the
I
main thing.
had my copy to bring with me and I forgot it. Because it was a lot of papers.
It was sent electronically too. So.
Yeah, but I wish I had it.
Did you have comments on it?
I don't know. I mean, I did make a few notations, but it was right next to me and I left because I was in a hurry. So. But anyway, we'll meet again next month anyway. But still, I mean, it was really good. I thought it was a good plan.
The next item is just the presentation of the semi-annual committee report, and this is, we do twice a year. We report on the activities of the commission and on your attendance. So you have a copy of that. Since we were not able to present it to you before it was due, I went ahead and submitted it.
Wasn't this in some of the papers you sent? This wasn't in the papers you sent also?
No, this is strictly for city council.
Oh, I thought I had read this already.
Actually, well, some of this is in the annual report.
Okay, it was in the annual report.
Mhm,
Okay,
because
that's
we're
what it
also
was.
reporting on the
Okay,
activities, so that's
Okay,
probably
this is
why
the
it sounds
biannual.
familiar.
Yeah, okay, that was, I read the annual report, you're right.
If there's no action on this, just for your information, I don't know if you want to check the absences, that's usually, which is the last page. And for forfeiting your position, it's 4 absences, so nobody's in danger of that.
the mayor's appointments. My name is in 6 and 7.
Anyway, oh, yes.
It's because I was still in one and then they put me in the
They
other.
reappointed you, yeah.
Oh, we have 2 vacancies, right? The Mrs. and the mayor?
Well, Mr. Mendez is, continue serving until
Oh, okay.
he
Sorry.
gets reappointed or somebody else gets appointed, so.
Oh, you can't put it
No.
Oh, that's right, Alyssa. Well, hopefully she'll leave me there. She's busy doing other things. Let's keep her busy with it.
Okay.
Looks good.
Okay, so moving on, now we have the discussion and action, possible action for the public art plan for 2022.
And this is the annual report. This is a report of what has happened so far, of the activities that have gone on as far as the presentations that were given to you, the actions you've taken.
So I read it. I don't know if everybody else read it. The packet that was sent out. I mean, it seemed pretty correct to me.
And included was the budget of what has been spent so far with the public art, and then our
Right.
inventory. But Elia, you said you were gonna send us a more complete?
Yeah, it's not complete, that
Yeah.
inventory.
The inventory, yes, I mean, it's not necessarily, what was painted in 2020, but
Right.
also, other things that, for example, the statues and those things as well.
Are we gonna get a map or anything like that? With like the locations? of the-
Locations, if we have the addresses, Elia, I don't know if we were planning on doing a map.
We're working on
You
that.
are?
Yeah,
I mentioned
so
Mr. Durfee.
CVB is working on a map. And we need to update, that listing needs to be updated with, especially the latest ones that.
Well, and there were some that weren't even there that are from North Central Park. They weren't even mentioned.
Yeah, it needs to be
Oh, okay.
updated.
Yeah, because I know there's more.
Yeah.
And Elia, is this just art that the city owns, or is it just any art?
It is just art that the city owns, so not usually, usually with the CIP funds, it's usually not spent on private property. Just as a best practice, it's usually supposed to be spent on city property. So typically, we wouldn't include anything that's on private property unless there's some sort of special arrangement. Like I think about the, El Abrazo mural, which is on the hotel, but it was funded with the CIP dollars. So that one, I think would be considered part of the collection.
Okay,
But
yes.
we just have to be careful moving forward that we're not really putting, at least with the CIP funds, that it's not funding things on private property. When we're talking about maybe HOP funds or other types of funding, then it would be okay.
So if it was funded by one of the city council members, it would be included.
Even if
Yes.
it's in private property?
No, but like North Central Park, they only have one mural on there, and there's 4. There's 4 that were done with, it was, the councilman,
The
Mate?
Martinez.
no,
Charlie.
it was
San
Charlie,
Miguel.
San Miguel.
Oh.
Yes, and there was a whole unveiling of all those murals. There's 4 or 5, there's 4 I know of.
That some of them are on private property, but they were funded,
Funded
which is
by-
what I'm saying.
Okay,
So
I don't know if they're
the-
on private property or
The
not.
ones are on the trail, like right across
Yeah,
from.
they're on
La
somebody's
Golondrina.
wall.
Uh-huh.
Okay, but then there was like where Sandra made hers,
Mhm.
and then Tony Briones is right across, and that's part of the street.
Yeah.
And then Mauro made one down where the water comes out, that
Mhm.
wasn't included either, and
Yeah.
that's all part of the city, so.
Those should be
Yeah.
included. So yeah, for sure we're missing some that are
Yeah,
city owned
yeah,
and
yeah.
North Central Park.
And then the last 2 that went up, Pancho Farías and.
Right, but it would still be cool if just maybe we could have listings and photos of all the murals, even though, like, maybe just as a separate thing, you know, for people.
I do
to
have,
know.
I do on my inventory spreadsheet, I have 2 tabs. One is city owned and then the other one says private properties.
Perfect,
So-
perfect.
Yeah,
Great.
because I think Yasita and Eileen have both collected information and
Yeah, that's
it
cool.
was, you know, for tourism, you want
Definitely,
everything, not
yeah.
just city owned.
Yeah,
So for
yeah.
the public art collection, in the database for the public art collection,
cool.
then that should be just city owned property.
That's cool.
Any other comments on it before you vote on it to advance it to city council?
I'm good. I think we're good with the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion?
Motion to approve?
I'm not running this meeting.
She's new to
So sorry.
Sorry. Can we have a motion to approve?
I'm so moved.
Dr. Vera, you were the first and Gail
I'll
second.
second it, sure. Carlos, me.
Carlos,
There we
a
go.
motion.
Okay.
Carlos and then Gail.
I'm just the loudest one.
Gail, this is off the topic, but do you have a photo shoot right now happening at your
I
gallery?
sure do.
Okay, because they went to the center right now.
Oh, well.
My assistant's asking.
Oh, the clients probably went to the center, but the photographer's at my gallery.
Okay, yes. I was like, wait, Gail's here.
That
Just
happens
ask
a lot.
her.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Take a vote.
Let's take the vote.
No, we're moving on to the next
Oh,
item.
we do it.
We already voted on the
Annual report.
annual report.
And now we're gonna talk about our,
We did, y'all did vote, because there was
We
a second.
motioned, we motioned, but we didn't.
Yeah,
vote.
there was
No.
a discussion, and
No,
now,
but we were only talking about the annual report. Now the next one is the annual
Okay.
public
The public
art
art
plan.
plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so
they
you're
did,
gonna
but
vote
you
on
did
something
vote on
else.
the,
Yeah,
on
we have
that
to
report.
vote on
Yes,
it.
Okay.
okay.
We already voted on the annual report. We accepted that.
so now our discussion, possible action for the annual public art plan for the fiscal year 2022.
Right.
The only comment that I have is, are there any murals that could put together some music or something? I don't know, I was thinking of the top of my head, you could have a chair where musicians can come and play with a mural. But that's the only thing that, if there is any funding, like as far as music with
And,
art.
and Elia had told us, I think we discussed it at the last meeting, that this is for public art, not performance art.
Okay.
Yes, there's probably gonna be some money with the hot funds from the Convention and Visitor Bureau, and that one can probably be.
and we can combine.
So the
Those
public
combine.
art plan doesn't encompass anything but art?
Correct. and
And
then
it's
Visual arts?
Visual.
Right. If it was a cultural plan, then it would encompass,
Okay.
you know, visual, performing,
Right.
theater and dance and everything else. But since it's just a public art plan, it doesn't really address that so much. But, you know, we're gonna provide opportunities in the report for performing arts programming around the public art.
Okay.
But in terms of like, when we're using CIP, when you guys are using CIP funds to fund projects, then typically that funding stays with the project, it needs to be on that property, you know, there's like a bunch
Right.
of rules. And so typically music is not, it can be included as a part of the public art, but it's usually not the centerpiece of the public art, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
I did see that it could fall under, because I was looking at the artwork project types that you put under the recommendations for the 2022 fiscal year. And so it could fall under the streetscapes, because it says it could be artist-enhanced street furniture. So
That's
when
perfect.
you talk about maybe like a
Chair or
sculptural
something.
chair,
Yeah.
that's public art, but it could also be utilized
Right.
as a musical component.
Yeah.
So I think those.
It can be incorporated,
Yeah.
it can be incorporated into the art.
Yeah, because in your examples, I was like, okay, that kind of broadens the scope of how we can utilize this besides just murals. That has been the focus.
Yes.
I do have a question. This group is called the Arts and Culture Commission. And so some of our first meetings when we first started, we discussed, and we have here with this group, there were other people that were on this group in the beginning, but we did discuss things like having arts. I think you were on the committee, having like performance in music and dance and things like that in Laredo as part of the cultural part of the Arts and Culture Commission. Now, we have no funding except if we are allotted the monies from the 2% or whatever it was that was not given to us. And I don't know how that's going to progress down the road.
Well, like Elias said, I mean, it's not for like a music festival and that would have, the funding would have to be from somewhere else, maybe from the Convention and Visitor Bureau.
And I'm thinking maybe even from each of the council members, but they have discretionary funds. If we are functioning as an Arts and Culture Commission, we always understood the arts was part of it, but we also feel very strongly that the cultural aspect of Laredo, Texas encompasses so many other things. And that also brings tourism. So, you know, I feel like we only have one leg here and we need two.
So there,
You know?
there's a part of the regulations of the use of hotel occupancy tax. It allows for a certain percentage of that tax to be used for cultural programs. And so now we're looking, now that we're working together, we're looking into how do we pull that money out so that it can be utilized for those purposes.
Right.
So it's definitely something that we are actively looking for, because we agree that this is a portion of what the commission is doing, but there's the other portion that has to be contemplated.
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, I even foresee maybe like when there's a mural opening or, you know, unveiling, maybe there's other stuff going on that is culturally important to Laredo and would bring tourism, like music or dance or who knows, opera, I don't know.
Right.
But, you know, something more than
comment about, you know, that we're going to provide opportunities in the report that will point some of those things out. That way it's written for you guys and you can use that as, you know, hopefully as leverage to say, look, the plan recommends that we can do this, and then hopefully that'll help with that. And then also, maybe when we're done with the public art master plan, that you all maybe will consider a cultural arts plan.
Yes, that would be great as part of our mission, right?
Yeah, it does sound like you all are, like I think every meeting that we've had, you all have mentioned music, and I know, you know, as Latinos, music is a big component of our lives, and I do think it's important, but the scope of this master plan was very explicit in what it covered, and, you know, we only have a limited amount of hours to work with.
But that's, you know, we're super happy that this is actually going to happen and that you're on board and that those council members who, you know, put their money towards this, we're very grateful. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, and I think that you all should definitely encourage, you know, the council members that appointed you to use their discretionary funds. You know, we do that here in Houston. We have a % for art that, you know, that helps with all of the new development and all that happening. We've got the HOP funds that help fund artist grants and artist organization grants and all of those things, festivals. And we just applied for a festival grant, you know. And then there's, you know, other funding that they are also able to use. So definitely, we're all looking at all of that and trying to set up what works, what makes the most sense for Laredo, kind of taking the best from other programs so that we can provide the best for you all.
Right. I mean, if the Yo-Yo Ma fabulous performance was any indication, I think that just shows that it can be classical music or Tejano music or whatever, mariachi music or whatever, dance. I mean, we have institutions here. There's the Folklorico Dance Group in Laredo. There's all kinds of beautiful things going on here that don't get a lot of exposure. So hopefully, all of us working together, this commission and you know, the arts plan and the city and the people on the city council we'll get it together and make it happen, I guess, eventually.
I think it's important to.
It takes time.
Yes.
I think what's important too is to look at projects that also have multimedia aspects and interactive art installations, because that way you can also incorporate
Absolutely.
the music and the historical part.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see art installations like, you know, the lighting that they do in San Antonio and I don't know where else I've seen them. I think you showed us a few of those in your presentation, because those do include music and
Yeah, and it would also like kind of go with the sculptural and the street enhanced furniture aspect
Absolutely.
as well. So I think
Yeah.
we should be.
So I
looking-
think we have a lot of good things to look forward to.
You know, one of the things that we've been talking about is how do we fit it into where, you know, like the gazebo, for example, at San Agustin Plaza.
Yes.
We see that there's some electrical outlets, and when
Yes.
we were there, somebody was plugged in and playing music. You know, it was church related, I think, it was on Sunday. But you know, outfitting some of those public areas so that people can easily access them to plug in and you know and do their music.
Yeah,
So
we actually started a vendors market there a while back. It was called the San Agustin, what was it called? San Agustin, I don't know, but it was La Posada and Gaucho One and a few other people, and we started this vendors market, and we would always have music playing in the gazebo. And it would be like from 10 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and then we moved it from like 2 to 10 o'clock at night, and we had a lot of people. It was a really great start but they were using the gazebo. We had live music there all the time, or DJs or whatever. It was really cool. But it's a great little spot, I agree, for something like that.
Yes.
For a long time, the Laredo Art Guild did a lot of art shows,
Yeah.
competitions there.
The Art League, I know, they were
And
fabulous.
They used to be fabulous, and people would come and have a great time. There would
Yeah.
be also vendors and,
Yep.
you know, all the local artists and artists
Yes.
also from the surrounding.
So we have a lot of history of really a lot of participation with our
The
artists
thing,
and people.
the thing is that, you know, how does this committee falls into promoting those things, or how is it that we, are we supposed to wait only on the commissioners to determine where and how it's going to be done?
Yeah. I don't know.
Or are we going to be able to tell the commissioners, this is what we're going to do, and this is the money that we're going to utilize?
Yeah.
Because we may have some artists that instead of going to the commissioners, should come to us also and find out, you know, if they're able to provide their art for the buildings or for the
Right.
surrounding areas. And I think that I don't feel that number one, that most of the artists know about this commission. Number two, I don't know if they fear that if they come here, the amount of money that they're going to get for their proposals are going to be less, because that's the way that it's been.
Yeah, then what it actually costs.
They have spent, you know, they've done work for $10,000 that when you look at it, you say, oh my God, if you just take it by the square foot,
Yeah.
there is no way
Yeah.
that $10,000 is going to cover even the paint or the material. Needs to be clarified in that, you know, proposal that is being made as to where there is some kind of distinction as to the purpose
What our
of
mission
this
is.
commission, not just to approve whatever happens to come our way, but to be able to formulate possibilities in order to be able to help the local artists to be able to expose their
Well,
work.
I thought, I was under the impression that was the purpose for us being the commission.
Right.
Yeah.
Because all these proposals and all these ideas were supposed to come through our commission.
Precisely, and that's,
And then, yes, and then all of a sudden, everybody started going, I mean, that was not followed.
We were just like, we had no mission.
Yeah, according to the ordinance, you all are supposed to review and comment on the projects that are under development. And you're supposed to have the power to, include recommendations on the process and the artists and the artwork selections. You all are supposed to have that power, but the way that things have worked in the past, it just hasn't worked out that way, or you haven't really been given that opportunity. So we're hoping that when the master plan is adopted, and not just the master plan, but the annual public art plan, that will be followed. We did have an initial conversation with the city manager a couple of months ago, and he said he was on board for the plan and he was excited to see it. And so hopefully that means that they will give you all that opportunity, because it is stated in the ordinance that you all should have that authority, to not select the artist, but to review, comment, and and recommend on the process, for all of that.
Didn't it also say that there was to be a call for artists for any?
There should always, the equitable thing is that there should always be a call for artists.
Okay, yeah, I thought I read that.
And it's supposed to be widely publicized.
And that's
How they started.
That's how we started, exactly. And I feel like that hasn't been the case, but it's out of our hands, right? But I really think that's very important.
Yeah, I think moving forward, that should be something, that equity that you've talked about, Elia, and that publicizing these things so all artists
Have
the opportunity.
Submit, exactly.
Do we currently have some sort of a Facebook page or anything like that to get the
No.
word out, or just a city standard?
The call to artists is usually done by the purchasing department. It's advertised. It's on the city's webpage when we did do it.
Because that's kind of challenging and I would think, right, somebody that doesn't know how to use, the purchasing website and
But
go
you
through
know
all
what? We all have
Yeah.
Facebook pages.
Right, you're right, yes.
So we can put the word out there,
Yeah.
as part of our commission. I mean, why can't we, right?
Yeah, no, I think that you all should.
And tell people, go to this place, go to the city side, go here, because there's a call to artists right now for this. I mean, yeah, we're gonna have to use our own social media if it comes to that, why not?
Yeah, but I think it's important to have that
Yeah.
selection process where everybody has the
I agree.
opportunity to see, what, there's a possible mural at this site.
Yeah,
And
not only that, but to be able to have diverse ideas for
Yes,
any-
exactly.
any kind of project. One person can have a great, composition or design, but somebody else may have another one that speaks more to the public.
yeah.
So those are things that I think
yeah.
we should be able to consider.
Are we,
And those are,
I'm
sorry,
sorry,
go ahead.
are we officially a designated cultural district?
Not yet.
Not
Not
yet.
yet.
They're still working on it. But they think they're going to get it because they were number 4. There were 3 picked or something like that, and we were number 4. So they feel like
We have a
will.
good chance.
Yeah, like for the next year, I think it's for 2022. They already submitted the whole thing, I believe, or they're
Yeah.
submitting it, but I think they think they have a really good chance.
It was submitted in June 21st.
Okay, yeah, he knows, because he's
Okay.
on that year.
If we are, or not if, when we are
There you go.
designated a cultural district, wouldn't that encompass
Funding.
not just the art, but the performance
We
and
will
funding
encompass,
and all
we will
that?
encompass everything,
Everything,
Yes.
everything.
yeah.
So it's not, I keep thinking, I'm very performance geared.
Yes.
And so to me, having a city with the arts is incomplete without, adding the performance. And I keep wanting to say, hey, wait a minute, what about the performance art?
Yeah,
And then poets and all these things, that we need to incorporate
Yeah,
and
yeah.
embrace as part of, our whole plan.
Yeah.
And I can't wait till we get the designation. Then I feel a little more
No,
secure.
I mean, all these wonderful things are happening, and I'm glad it's happening. I wish it happened 10 or 20 years ago, but here we are. We're here in this moment, and we're gonna make it happen, and it's very exciting.
And no, good for the promotion, if there's a call for artists, we can work with PIO, with Public Information Office, and they can post it on the city Facebook page.
Oh, that would be perfect.
So that,
Yeah.
there's,
And then we
A
can
little
all
bit
just
more.
repost,
Yeah,
you
we
know?
can share that.
Yeah, we can totally share.
You guys might also want to maybe compile a list of, organizations, artists, et
You
cetera,
know,
that would have
the
an interest in
cultural
receiving-
district is doing that, right?
Okay.
I know, I saw that post. Shalissa asked for all artists, anybody who's an artist, who's a musician, all this. They were requesting lists of names, or anybody who knew
Yes.
anybody, yeah. So I know they're putting together that.
Yes, because I've been doing that for years myself here in Houston, and, I now have a list of, I don't know, probably 2,000, people who are artists, creatives,
Yeah.
performers,
Yeah,
everything.
definitely.
And so I'm always.
Well, we should all help them compile their list, because I know they're doing it for them.
I know I submitted a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Names. That's great.
Elia, I have a question. As part of the master plan, would we as a commission also have the opportunity to formulate like possible projects for the city or open calls? Like we were saying, like a multi-dimensional art installation or
So the scope of the plan does not include too much about projects, but we're trying to reserve some hours on the back end so that we can do some project work. But I think it would be a good idea for you all to conceptualize some ideas that we can look at to include into the master plan.
Sure, that would be, I think we could, add a voice to things that we would like to see.
Speaking about, I guess crossing, different types of arts. Some of the programs that we'll suggest are like imprinting the sidewalks. Like when the sidewalks are getting redone,
Right.
when they're upgrading sidewalks, that's your chance to do imprinted poetry. So you can work with, you can do poetry contest, or you can work with the poet laureate. You can do community workshops to come up with the poetry, or whatever it is. Things like that that do incorporate some of the other arts as well. We're really trying to keep an eye on so that we can include that into the plan.
have you all seen how on some streets they paint the poems
Yeah.
and then when it rains you can see the
Oh, yeah.
wording? That would
Yeah.
be interesting.
Very cool too.
Sorry, real quick. Does CIP encompass utility projects as well, or
Yeah.
just construction, like building construction projects?
According to the ordinance, utilities is included, but it's very, it's kind of vague on exactly what, and what we think it means is, because based on what other cities are doing, that it just means anything above ground utility would qualify, but not an underground utility.
Okay.
So I think so, utility projects I can think of are like, for example, we use utility boxes here in Houston. I think you guys might have a few.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
some
Yes.
And so, that's utility, or the poles. We're starting to do a banner district, art, but just art banners, not where they are saying, oh, come look at this event or whatever. It's more like, look at this art, and so the banners have art on them. We're doing corridors like that.
So
those are utility poles.
Is it possible to do like, and I'm just putting a scenario, let's just say you have a fire hydrant, right? Can you put art next to the fire hydrant, or does it have to be incorporated in the actual material of the project?
That's a good question. I'm
Because
not sure.
I'm pretty sure the city is gonna do a bunch of improvements in utilities. If they have fire hydrants, can we put art next to them,
I
and
think
show people?
didn't it specify building, any new building projects? Wasn't that what it was?
Yes,
Just
to
the
construct, improve, or renovate buildings,
Yeah.
parks, streets, and the streets include the transportation system and the streetscapes. And as far as utilities, it just says city utility systems that are above ground.
Okay, so, that's pretty loose.
Yeah.
Vague.
Very vague.
But we
Open to
could,
interpretation.
in a way, if it's vague, let's.
That's good, right? I would love to see art, you know,
Yeah.
next to fire, hey, we'll put it there. We'll put something there.
I don't know if
Like an installation?
Yeah.
Something near the fire hydrant.
Or
A great idea, because those are all over the place, and,
They're all over. That's a great project you can
Yeah.
do to get equity across all the council districts.
yes,
You can spread it out.
yeah.
So that's why my question is, who would determine any of these projects? Since there's three different, which is architectural, which is the murals, mosaics, building details, then it's the landscape, and it says sculptures, fountains, plazas, and then it says streetscapes, which is the artist who has street furniture. But who would determine this if we don't have necessarily a say? And you know what, I think, I can honestly say for the downtown area, people have been asking, like, what about public art sculptures and a lot of art installations, because I know that would be, I know for budgets, that's kind of the easiest thing to do. So I know that people are asking for that, but as part of the commission, I can't even recommend, you know what, in the downtown area, it'd be cool to have some sculptures. Like, who would determine that then?
Isn't that gonna have to be like through you all, Elia? Like if we have ideas, we would go through the master plan, or we would contact whoever's putting together the master plan to kind of try and get our ideas incorporated in that. Wouldn't that be that way that works?
For now, yes, until the master plan is adopted.
And then who's
like
in charge of that? And then who's in charge of it after it's adopted?
Eileen.
Hi.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Marina and Eileen, it's still sort of in transition, but you know,
Okay.
eventually it'll be Eileen.
Okay, well, that's good.
So then we would just like make recommendations, starting, you know what, there's a site-specific art installation that would be really cool, and then we kind of have to like already match the artist and come to you with a budget already? Is that?
I have the artist open. Well, it just depends. You know, if you have artist proposals, I mean, that's when I recommend setting up a grant system for that. You know, so that you
That's a
can
good idea.
say you specifically, but you know, there should be a system where, but the CIP is for the most part going to happen on the sites where that art, I mean, where the,
Right.
you know, that's
That's
funding
what I understood.
the art.
And as a follow-up to the 15% or the percentage from the hotel occupancy tax, I agree the idea of using it as a grant program, so that
Yeah.
any artist in the community, performance or music or any type, can come to us and say,
And request.
and
Make a
request
presentation.
through us, but obviously with
Yeah, yeah.
A citywide open call.
exactly,
Yeah,
with
that's a good
the
idea.
input and the approval of the
Yeah.
commission,
Yeah.
that we can say, okay, these grants are gonna be approved, everybody's in agreement, and then we move forward with,
Okay.
the different projects.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
usually like
'cause
a,
that's what people have been questioning, like, okay, so.
So what happens?
Who's coming up with the projects,
Yeah.
if it's not the commission, if it's not,
Right.
other stakeholders in the community, if it's not.
And so far, they've all been murals for the most
Yes,
part, right?
Yeah.
and that's why I think it's already time to expand past the murals.
Sure.
We just need to define that funding source,
Yeah.
Right.
which we're trying to figure out. Once we figure out that funding source, then we open up to everything that you were saying with performance, music, other
I think that by
types
now,
of arts.
I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
I think by now the sculpture is already in the place because of the sculpture that was approved by this committee.
Yes.
That is going to be at the central.
Yeah, that,
So
maybe the water.
that in itself opens up to the idea that hey,
Yeah.
sculptures are supposed to be, and I believe that Councilman Martin was trying to procure funds to be able to allow this particular artist to create similar type of sculptural compositions to be placed in different areas in the park or somewhere else.
Yeah, because it would be nice to see sculpture gardens within the plazas. That's also a good way to.
Well, when we received several sculptures and even different projects for the park itself, were pretty interesting. So I don't see why not some of those concepts that were brought to us cannot be also included into different areas of the city.
There's just so many ideas, you know, and I think this is gonna foment, you know, a lot more and really get things going. I'm really excited.
But I know the artists are already,
Yes.
they're going like this.
One thing too that I say about the grants is that, you know, sometimes like, here usually the maximum is 10,000. Like Julio just said, that doesn't necessarily cover, you know, an entire project. I know it doesn't for us. So a lot of times, even though I think there's also going to be some education that needs to go along with this, that artists understand that, you know, sometimes they also have to do outside fundraising to be able to, you know, fulfill their project, because sometimes the grants aren't going to be large enough, because you want to be able to distribute them to many artists, right? And if you start distributing these large ones, then it's going to limit the amount of artists that can, you know, that will be eligible to receive it. So, you know, some of it will have to be your education and you know, professional development with the artists, so that they understand that, you know, sometimes they will have to look for other funding sources to supplement their grants.
So moving on, does anybody have any questions or comments about the budget or the recommended budget for the 2022 fiscal year?
Oh, I mean, are we ready to vote on that?
Well, did anybody have any more comments? Because we're looking at the 2022, and within the art plan is the budget. Did you all want to review it?
What's the budget right now? Say that.
The budget for 2022 is 300, and the way, that was the calculation that was given to us from the finance department. And the way that we distributed it, at least for this first year, is to do, well, because the way the CIP funding was allocated, it was allocated 1 million per district, and then the remaining was citywide. And so we followed the same thing in the public art funding, in that we did 2% of the 1 million per district, so that's 20,000 per district. That does not mean that the council member gets to decide that project. That just means that we're trying to do an equitable distribution of the funds. And then the remaining 140,000 would be for citywide funds. You know, maybe that's focused on downtown because we're trying to bring tourism to downtown, or maybe it's from another area that gets identified, or maybe it's multiple areas. But you know, it won't be district specific. But from that citywide public fund, then you should be able to also pay for program administration. There should be 5% in there for conservation and restoration. With CIP dollars, you can't pay for like routine maintenance, but if something is in disrepair or, you know, something like that, then the conservation fund would help that. So for example, when we looked at the murals, we saw the one at the fire station, I think it was fire station administration building maybe, where they had a mural in the back. It looked like it was maybe painted in the 90s. It started to fade. So if you wanted to restore something like that, then you could use the conservation fund for that. And then the remaining would be used for a major civic art project or projects. And all of that adds up to 300.
So program administration was 45,000, the conservation fund was 15,000, and then it says major civic art projects 80,000. Any questions or comments about that? All right, so do you want to go ahead and vote art plan for 2022?
I move that we adopt, that we accept it.
I will second that motion.
We'll learn from our mistakes the first time around. If there's any mistakes, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. But it's good because we have no idea, right? This is something all new to us, and I'm glad we're a part of it. So yeah, it's going to be a learning experience. I'm excited.
Well, and then, and then next year, when the next plan comes around, then you have a little more knowledge, right? And
Absolutely.
Then you can tweak it so that it
If
makes
we're still
sense
here,
for something to get
or
work.
not replaced by other people. Yeah.
And if you don't like it, we'll complain.
And nobody will listen.
Okay. The next thing is just scheduling your next meeting and any possible items to include on the agenda.
It is scheduled for August the 19th, which is the third Thursday of
Same time.
Same time,
Same
5:30. Same time.
If you're okay with it.
If you're all okay, I know at the previous meeting, there were some questions about keeping it here or moving it to, at one point in time, moving it to downtown. We can have that discussion or put it to vote this meeting or the next one. If we want to stay here and Maria can lend us her,
Yes.
or eventually move it to downtown.
I like it,
I think it's here too.
Well, I live in the Heights, so what can I say?
I do love good downtown, but that's me.
I think maybe if we're all together, that we can discuss that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next one here.
So far.
All right.
If you don't
So,
have anything to do, there is a program at LC.
What is it?
Today at 7.
It is a musical, kind of a musical that was written by Mr. Crabtree.
Oh, okay.
So,
It starts at 7. You better hurry.
so bye.
Let's go ahead and adjourn it, if anybody wants to.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All right, I'll approve.
All right.
Bye.
Aye.